Are you feeling the pressure to close out 2024 with a bang? The competition is fierce and the clock is ticking, but don't worry. Today, we're breaking down the exact strategies top performing agents are using to dominate their markets, attract more listings, and end the year on a high note. If you're ready to take control of your success, you won't want to miss this. Let's kickstart your second half of 2024 with actionable steps to dominate the market. This is the perfect time to reassess your strategy. What worked for you so far and where did you fall short? Think of this as your halftime pep talk, an opportunity to pivot and set winning plays for the rest of the year.
I've got some great ideas I want to share with you as you're doing a look back, as we always do at the first 6 months, and then a look forward for what it is I'm going to do differently, more of, less of, start and stop to adjust so you find yourself in a better position to win. Now, if you recently listened to the podcast I did with David Childers over at KCM, he argued very analytically that the second half of the year is going to be better than the first half of the year. What's your immediate take on that? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you think the second half of 24 is going to be better than the first half of the year? His was very simple. He said all the major forecasters, Fannie, Freddie, and NAR, are all saying interest rates are going to be somewhere between 6.4 to 6.5. And I think you would agree, staring from a 7.5 or a 7.12 down to 6.5 is a little more palatable for the vast majority of people to make the move. Now, beyond that, it's really going to come down to what are the adjustments you're going to make to ensure your success. So I've got two different lists. I've got the I've been doing this forever, 75,000 hours of coaching. Here's the obvious stuff, or maybe the not so obvious. And then I went to TomAI, where our AI tool is examining all of our clients and what's working and what's not. And I can literally go region by region, team versus solo agents, what country do you want to be in? And I just asked it, what are the 4 to 5 most important things our clients are focusing on right now that's moving the needle and putting them in a position to sell 35 homes, 40 homes, teams, 100, 200, etc. Newer agents coming in and doing 16 transactions, 30 transactions. So I'm going to share all that with you as well. But I want to, again, just frame you and I, we're sitting together one-on-one. And I'm like, hey, how was the first half of the year? Let's talk about some of the obvious adjustments or things that you should be reflecting on so you can move into the second half of the year well-positioned, well-organized, and ready to attack. Now, with that said, the obvious stuff, the first thing I wrote down is, if you looked back January to now, what were the most successful marketing campaigns you did in the first half of the year?
Ready to double down on what works? Let's identify your success formula. Take this moment to list out your top performing tactics, whether it's email campaigns, open houses, or client follow-ups. Doubling down on proven strategies can set you up for exponential growth.
Did you throw some events? If so, how'd it work out? Did you do some emails that maybe myself or Jimmy Mackin over at Listing Leads shared with you and you got success? Did you do a direct mail campaign? Did you knock on some doors? Did you text some clients? What did you do that worked? And my response to you is, if it worked, let's do more of it in the second half of the year. You with me on this? Let's do more of it. On the flip side, can you look back and say, what do you know didn't work? What do you know didn't work? And again, if you and I were just sitting one-on-one, I hope you're like grabbing a pen and you're not just watching me and you're like, okay, let me pause this. What worked? Okay, this campaign worked, that campaign worked. Man, I did that one open house and I didn't knock on doors. I did that Zillow thing where I said, Zillow's always wrong. Want to know how much your home is really worth? And I put it out over 125 doors. And I got like 3 listing calls from that. Like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, I'm good at this. I just got to be more consistent running plays at work. So start there. What did you do that worked? And then the second part is, what do you know didn't work? What do you know didn't work? And you might go, dare I say, a little deeper with that and actually say, well, what I know didn't work was not making my calls, not sending any texts, not sending any emails, not doing any direct mail, like no smoke signals, no open houses, no nothing. That didn't work. And I'm sure you have a bunch of valid excuses if that was the case. And what I would say is, how about you give yourself some grace? You let those excuses go and you say, ding, ding, here's the second half. The race has begun. Let's go.
Grace over guilt, time to let go of excuses. This is such a vital mindset shift. We're all guilty of falling into excuse patterns, but recognizing them is the first step. Let's replace excuses with intentional action starting now.
The market's going to get better. Things are going to improve, but not if you don't improve. If you don't improve, it's just going to be more of the same, right? So you know what I'm saying. I don't care if you're at one of my clients who just told me he's at 315 closed and pending transactions for the year, or you're at 3, right? The same rule applies, my friend. The same rule applies. All right. Third thing I wrote down is, what adjustments do you have to make to your priorities? So we know the phrase prioritize until it's painful.
How painful are your priorities? If not painful, you're not prioritizing enough. This is a gold nugget of advice. What are the top 2 to 3 things you must accomplish this quarter? Focus on those relentlessly and let the rest fall into place. Discipline here will pay off massively.
Prioritize until it's painful. And this is something I find myself saying to myself when I've got tens of ideas in front of me, all these things that I want to do. But what I know is, if I prioritize down to 2 or 3 things that really matter, that are really going to move the needle, that's where I see the most sustainable results in my career, in my business. It's prioritizing and saying no to a bunch of other stuff and saying yes to the things that I know move the needle. And that's that priorities thing. So where are the adjustments you need to make to your priorities? Another way to say that is, where do you need to put more sustainable focus between now and the end of the year? Let's play on that for a second. It's something that I love discussing with individuals just like you. I'm like, okay, when you get focused for long periods of time on doing the right stuff, what happens? Everybody's like, oh my goodness, like I kill it, but it's hard, Tom. It's hard. I've got so much coming on. Spouses and kids and life and the market and interest rates and the elections and everything, all the NAR changes. And my response is, I got you. And yet, like if you committed to doing 10 or 20 or 100 push-ups a day, you did it 100 days in a row, you know what happens. Like, not only do you feel stronger and you feel better, but it's like you did it. You have that mindset of like, I did it. Well, how do we create that sustainable focus for you on, let's say, 10 conversations a day with past clients, sphere of influence, and old leads? Recognizing old leads, especially because of the longer sales cycles now, because of the cost of money and interest rates and everything else, right? Like people are pushing back and holding off, right? You know it and I know it. So with a longer sales cycle, how many more follow-up conversations do we need to have before we realize, pretty typically, a good agent like you, you're going to get 1, and the market's going to get 3, 4, in some cases 5, because somebody else creates a relationship. Somebody else nurtures them a little bit more and finally nudges them and they make a decision. So we can't have that happen. Not in this environment, certainly not in the second half of the year. So if 10 feels overwhelming, go to 3. If 3 feels too little, go to 5. My point to you is, what would it take to have sustainable focus around an activity that you know works? I don't care if it's open houses every day, sending 5 text messages every day, making phone calls, going to Starbucks, wearing your company name badge and having 9 conversations. I really, really, really don't care. But I know this. Right now, our data shows it's about 11 conversations to the average sale. If you're working your database, it pushes up to like 27 to 28 if you're look outside of your sphere, outside of the people that know you and like you and trust you. Regardless, it's a contact sport. So how do we create more sustainable focus around doing the things that give you and your business the power? Maybe we just try for July and August. Maybe just till I see you at the summit, right? Just for, call it, what would that be, about 7.5, 8 weeks. You just said July and August, I'm going to be super disciplined. I'm going to put it up on the wall. I'm going to track and measure it. I'm going to create some accountability with my coach, with my manager, with my kids, with my puppy, because I've got to do it. I've got to prove to myself that I can say this and I can do it.
Consistency is king. Here's your challenge for the next 60 days. I challenge you to set a measurable goal for the next 8 weeks. Whether it's daily calls, follow-ups, or video content, consistency compounds. Let's make this a non-negotiable priority.
5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, you decide. But you and I both know, do the thing, have the power. Do not the thing, have not the power. If you learned anything about yourself in this market, looking past over the last 6 months, looking past over the last maybe 3 or 4 years, when you get consistent and when you get focused, anything is possible. But when you're distracted, well, we know what happens. All right. So those are my first 3 or 4. I'm going to give you one more, then I'm going to share with you what my best clients are doing right now from TomAI. So the last one is this. What if the adjustment you made between now and the end of the year is you stopped rolling the dice and using guesswork to, dare I say, try and predict or set goals in your business, and instead you once and for all started to track and measure the basics.
Stop guessing and start tracking. Data beats luck every time. This is the cornerstone of a sustainable real estate business. Tracking your conversations, leads, and appointments will uncover patterns that guide smarter decisions. Why guess when the data can show you the way?
How many conversations, how many leads, how many appointments, how many signed contracts? Just those 4 things. If I can get you to start tracking, how many conversations did I have today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Up on a whiteboard, inside a piece of software. I don't care how you do it. I know this. When you start to track and measure, you go from this guesswork, no idea, completely unpredictable. You think, oh, real estate, that person's successful, they're just lucky. Maybe, just maybe, they know that every 28 conversations they have, they open an escrow. Now, let's be clear. You and I both know it doesn't mean on the 27th person that I talk to, you're like, number 28, you're buying a house. No, it's the law of averages. Over time, 6 months, a year, you start to look back and realize, oh my goodness, I'm at 12 conversations to an open escrow, a listing taken, a listing sold, a buyer sale. It doesn't make a difference from my database. And I'm like, 42 outside of my database. But no matter what, my blended average is like 27 conversations. So why in the world am I not having 27 conversations a day? That's how predictable you can make your business. Now, whether that's 27 or 127, it doesn't make a difference. What matters is you know. See, amateurs guess, experts know. Amateurs guess, experts know. Experts are making predictions based upon the data, based upon the math, and everybody else is just, come on, 7. And tragically, I think you know what I meant. Tragically, we all know what happens in that scenario. The house always wins and you lose. So maybe, just maybe, one of those adjustments are the adjustments you need to make. Let's switch over to TomAI. I asked it again, hey, what are the best clients doing right now? Where is their concentration from the month of May, the month of June? What are they thinking about in the second half of the year? All this stuff matters, so pay attention. No order of importance. Here's what I got. Number 1, everybody said double down on video and social.
Social media isn't optional. It's your secret weapon. If you're not leveraging video to position yourself as the go-to expert, you're leaving money on the table. Start small. A quick market update or a walkthrough can build your credibility online.
Now, what's interesting is you read the 1,000 watt report, and I'm not sure if you read 1,000 watt. It's the number 1000 1000 watt, WATT. My friends Mark and Brian, they published a report recently that said the number one thing that home sellers want when looking for an agent to represent them in the sale of their property was their social media marketing, recognizing that everybody's on this. So I wasn't shocked to hear when you look at all the clients we're working with all over the world, they all said the same thing. I'm doubling down on my social media, specifically video, to get the word out, to be the knowledge broker, to be the educator, not salesy, like, hey, this is what's going on. Here's what's happening in the market. Rate watch 2024. Here's what the rates are today. Like, they're being the educator in their space, and they're also showing some levity, the lighter side of them, their dog, their cat, their kids, their spouses, whatever it may be. They're showing the whole enchilada so people can fall in love with you as the agent, but also as a human being. So that's one. Number 2, hyper-local focus. So they're going deep on the data, and there's so many notes around this. And, if you've watched Jason Pantana or myself or another one of my coaches, when we talk about the power of, I'll use ChatGPT 4 if you're not a Tom Ferry client, you go inside ChatGPT 4, the fact that we can upload data directly from the MLS, a spreadsheet of all the recent transactions, all the recent listings that didn't sell, and say, help me understand the correlations between pricing. Why did these properties not sell? Why did these sell so fast? What are some of the obvious and not so obvious things I should know about this market? I always think about Jason sharing a story when he was doing this, where he lives in Nashville. I think he's on the west side. And he said, So I'm thinking about selling my home based on this data. What are things that I should know? And ChatGPT 4 essentially said to him, homes like yours essentially get scraped by builders to build mega mansions. So essentially spending any money on improving the property is not going to get you the incremental lift that you want. And he was like, that's so true. He's like looking around his neighborhood like, yeah, everybody's like tearing down these old properties and they're building up these new, rock star properties. Like that actually makes a ton of sense. Here's the thing. If you have the insight on the hyperlocal market and you're able to say something different that makes you stand out, you're more likely to be that person that like, hey, I remember watching a video of you were talking about this and this and this, and I thought, yeah, I want to have a conversation with you. Like, if you look at the first two, what are we really saying here? What are all of our clients working on? They're trying to create a degree of separation between them and everybody else in the marketplace. So we know one is social and video. We know another one is being the person that takes the time to ask the interesting questions of the data and let ChatGPT or TomAI or whatever AI tool you're using to bring to light something different, something special, a talking point that you can discuss at the pool over summer or, at a soccer field or whatever it may be that's just beyond how's the market. Like, hey, it's interesting, right? Like something more. So that was number 2. Number 3, a lot of talk around streamlining operations with tech. So I love this because it's not just how many properties can you sell, but it's also how do I improve the experience for my customers? How do I improve the experience for my customers? When you look at the data around the sort of knock on not you, but like the average agent, like consumers are constantly saying, you didn't communicate enough. You didn't tell me enough of what was going on. Well, when I read this and I go into the weeds on it, a lot of people, what they figured out was I could record 3, 5, 7, 10, 15 videos that get sent to a client from the day they list their house to the day it closes, from the day they open escrow to the day it closes, that just walk them through, hey, we're now at this phase of the listing process. We're now at this phase of opening escrow. We are T-minus 5 days from closing. We just got this report, that report. And the best news is it can all be automated. And what's so much fun now, again, looking at TomAI, I would just go in and say, what are the most important SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures. What are the most important SOPs an agent at my level needs in order to provide 5-star experiences, get 5-star reviews from all my customers? And you're gonna get this monster answer. Then you could literally say, break down each one, create a spreadsheet for me, turn that into an SOP just for me. Here's my market, here's my sales price, this is my desire, la, 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 bang. So what we're seeing is people are thinking about degrees of separation with their brand. They're thinking about standing out amongst the sea of sameness amongst real estate agents. Number 2, they're going hyper local. I want to be the knowledge broker in my area. I want to be sharing interesting insights so that the average person is not thinking about, that they're not seeing on all the different portals. They're just getting it from you. That's awesome. Number 3, how do I use tech to operationalize, to streamline my business, to make things more efficient, to get more time back? Would you let me know in the comments below, what are some of the changes you're going to make and how can I continue to support you in 2024?
So as we wrap up, remember this. Success in real estate doesn't come by accident. It's built through consistent action, smart strategies, and staying ahead of the game. The tools and insights we've shared today are just the beginning. The question is, how will you put them to work? Take the first step, make a plan, and finish 2024 stronger than ever. You've got this. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tips to elevate your real estate game.